everybody. Thanks for tuning in to PetWatch, the monthly show right here at the Whatcom Humane Society. Well, it is a clear, beautiful, cold day in eastern Whatcom County, and you know what that means. It means we're here at the Whatcom Humane Society's Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, located near Nugent's Corner in the Everson-Deming area of Whatcom County. And a lot of people think wildlife, spring, summer, you're out and about and you see the wildlife. Well, winter brings a whole set of challenges for our native wildlife, and luckily, thanks to the generosity of the community, the Whatcom Humane Society is able to operate a wildlife rehabilitation center. So our wonderful producer, Russ Nelson, has made the trek out. We're going to spend the day with Alicia and Abby and the great volunteers here at the Wildlife Center, check in with them, see what's going on, meet a couple cool special guests, and you are not going to want to miss this show. So bundle up, because it's cold out here, but it's warm inside, no doubt. Get comfy on the couch with your 2- and 4-legged friends, and we'll be right back for a great episode of PetWatch.
There are thousands of dogs and cats housed in shelters that need your help. Local shelter professionals and volunteers give their heart and soul to help unwanted animals and deserve your support. Americans give millions every year to national animal organizations, but unless you give to your local shelter, you can't be sure that money will make it to the pets that need it most. Adopt, volunteer, and give to your local animal shelter. To find your local shelter, go to humaneforpets.org.
Hey everybody, we're here at the Whatcom Humane Society Wildlife Rehabilitation Center at Nugent's Corner out in Deming, Everson area with the beautiful Mount Baker right behind us. What a glorious, glorious winter day. We are here with Alicia Ellsby, the manager of the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center and a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, and a very special guest with us. Alicia, thanks for being here.
No problem.
So you have a possum in your hands.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about this possum and why you are holding a possum.
All right, so this little guy is named Rainbow. He came in May as a pink little jelly, as opossums are marsupials, in his mom's pouch. Unfortunately, his mom had an encounter with a car and she did not live. He had 12 other brothers and sisters with him in that pouch, but unfortunately he was suffering from the most injuries after that collision. So he does have a little bit of cranial damage and some eye damage. As you can see, oh, big yawn for us. As you can see, one of his eyes is not here. We did have to remove it because he had such a serious injury. And so since of this injury, he is not able to survive in the wild. We have done many veterinary exams on him and what we call release quality, and he does not meet those. So what we did is, because he has such a good demeanor as he's a little bit cognitively impaired, we spoke with Fish and Wildlife, who holds permits for education animals. So what they did is they listened to his story, they did get to meet him and say, you know what, he would be a great education ambassador for the Wildlife Center. So that is why I can hold him, and that is why we can talk around him, because he's used to humans. We use him as education. So he lives here at the Wildlife Center, and we're able to talk about what makes him so unique, why Virginia opossums are a pretty cool animal, and he can live out his life in a happy, natural as wild state that he can.
So Alicia, I mean, our entire staff at the Whatcom Humane Society are pretty much in love with Rainbow. We just think he's the best thing ever. But he is not a pet.
No, he is not. He definitely has that special permit that you can only obtain if you are a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, and we don't want to keep any animal in captivity. Our goal here at the Whatcom Humane Society Wildlife Center is to release them, but because of his injuries, we knew that that would not be humane or fair, and because he made such a wonderful candidate for education, we decided that we were going to keep him and make him a part of our team.
Right on. So if you see a wild animal in need, recognize you can't take them home and pet them like Alicia has Rainbow here, but you can call the Wildlife Center for information, for assistance, 966-8845. If you are a school group or a service group and you would like Alicia and Rainbow to come to your school, that is a possibility. So give us a call and we can arrange that. And this is so cool. Rainbow is the only humane education animal I know about that has his own trading card, which talks about possums and his story, and the fact that, like Alicia mentioned, possums are North America's only marsupial. They also are nature's pest control. They eat things like ticks and bugs that are icky and gross. And Alicia, talk to us a little bit about, people think that possums carry rabies and they don't, correct?
Yeah, we get quite a few calls every year about people saying that they found an opossum, it's keeping its mouth open, it's foaming, and that it's rabid. Well, actually, because it's a marsupial and they have such a low body temperature, it is almost impossible for them to harbor rabies. What's going on in that state is that's their defense mechanism. Like that term, playing possum, that's actually what they do. Their body kind of goes into a torpor, they open their mouths, they naturally salivate, they can't help that. That's part of their defense mechanism. So they're actually just defending themselves. They're not rabid. We have had not one rabid possum report in this area in years, actually ever that I know of. And so that's pretty cool that they actually aren't rabid like people think.
Possums rock is what we're here to say.
Yeah.
So we are going to spend the day here today on PetWatch at the Wildlife Center here at the Whatcom Humane Society. Alicia and her great assistant Abby are going to be treating some injured native wildlife. The goal, of course, is to treat these animals, release them back into their native habitat where they can thrive and have wonderful, productive lives as wild animals. So Alicia, let's get out of this cold. Let's head inside. Abby's getting some animals ready and we'll be right back.
Today we're going to be working with a barred owl that we got in about a week ago that was hit by a car. Unfortunately, he was hit completely on his left side and he is suffering from a broken beak, a broken leg, and a broken wing. So he's got a menagerie of injuries that have been treated multiple times at Maplewood Animal Hospital for countless surgeries. So we're bringing him up today to do a recheck of his leg and his wing and his beak to see if all of his wraps and splints are where they should be. And then he also needs to be assist fed because he's not eating on his own with all the medications that he's on to heal those injuries. So that's what we're going to be doing today with him. We're not going to talk during the exam because we want it to be as low stress as possible since he is a wild animal. That splint is holding up well. Okay, you ready? Can you hold the back of his head? right, so his wraps are looking really good. You can see that big old splint on his leg, and so his talons are positioned the way they should be. His leg is positioned the way that it should be, and he's not feeling any pain right now. His wing wrap looked really good, and as you could see when I was force feeding him, there's a couple times where I just wanted to let him settle down because he has regained lots of strength in that fractured beak. So he's trying to eat on his own and he's clamping his beak shut. So those are all excellent things that we want to see, and we're hopeful that he will start eating on his own in the next couple of days. Abby is going to be bringing up a Trumpeter Swan who came in to us 3 days ago, unfortunately suffering from lead toxicity. He was found in Snohomish at Sunday Lake, and he's an adult. He actually came in with his mate and their offspring, their cygnet, and unfortunately his mate did not make it, but his cygnet is still with us. So he's doing really well, and that is helping prompt him to heal. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a blood sample to check where his lead levels are at, and then we can see if there's any further treatment we need to do, if he's responding, and if we can actually move him outside with his cygnet so he can be in a more natural environment. So Abby's on her way with him right now, and we're going to take a look. All right, so as Abby is taking him downstairs, what I did is that blood that we collected, we're mixing it with one of our control substances here that is going to turn the mixture brown. Then we can go ahead and place it on our lead tester to see what his lead level is at. So we're gonna let this sit for just a few minutes and turn brown. So as you guys could probably hear, he was hissing the whole entire time. That's his warning sign to us of leave me alone, I don't want to be held. Since he is a wild animal and a very strong one, he's very stressed in captivity, so we keep him fully covered and do our best to minimize any sort of external stressors that could make his blood sample be a bit elevated. We don't want to see any false results. And the reason that lead is such a prominent issue is because we have lots of lakes around Whatcom County, Judson, Weiser, Willie's Lake, all of those where lead shot hunting used to be a big thing about 26 years ago. Thankfully it was banned in the 70s, but all that lead shot is still in the bottom of the lakes, and when these swans, they migrate down from the Arctic, Alaska, at this time of year, November, December, they fly down here, and what they're doing is they're trying to forage. There's not enough food up in the Arctic for them due to the permafrost and frozen lakes, so they can't eat what they would normally eat. So here they're dipping their necks down, they're getting all of the rhizomes of the lily pads and all the fresh vegetation from inside that water body, and that's where the lead has been sitting for so many years, leaching into the dirt, leaching into the rhizomes, leaching into the vegetation. So unfortunately they're ingesting that. There's also actually some still whole lead pellets in there that they naturally think are rocks, so they'll ingest that to help them digest. But unfortunately, they're lead pellets, which then gives them lead toxicity. So what we are doing is we're getting them in from Fish and Wildlife. We work very closely with Fish and Wildlife. They actually have a swan technician who is hired this time of year to go out and rescue any swan that needs help. He will then bring the swan to us. We perform the lead test, and then we see what we have to do. Sometimes they're lead negative, which is a very good story, and we definitely check them often to make sure they stay that way, as lead can sequester into their bones. But 9 out of 10 times they come in with a positive reading that needs our help and that needs treatment. So in saying that, we're hopeful that this guy's lead is getting better, and then once we get it completely out of his system, then we can go ahead and release them after that. The swans all get collared and tagged so we can track them in the wild when they make it to release and see how they're doing. Right now is swan season. They're going to be migrating again in March to April, and so if you see a swan that you think is in distress, please call the Swan Hotline. The number is 360-466-4345, extension 266. Leave a message if the swan technician does not pick up, and he will get back to you. It is really, really stressful for these guys if you try to capture them and bring them to our hospital because they're so big, they are quite dangerous, and they really do not do well on their own. So the best thing to do is to give that number a call, or if you cannot reach someone and it's a very dire emergency, like a swan has been hit by a car, there's blood, they're stuck in something, please do give the Wildlife Center a call, 360-966-8845, and we will definitely get in touch with that swan technician and get that swan into care. We don't want to leave any swan out there that needs our help. Kind of some of the things to look for if a swan is injured or sick: any sort of blood, troubles breathing, and if they're by themselves. It's never a good sign for them to be by themselves. They're such a gregarious species that we always want to see them with at least one other, their mate, their offspring, someone they migrated with. So keep an eye out for that. If you live in an area where a water body's close, like Weiser Lake, Willie's Lake, Judson Lake, and you see a swan that's trying to fly off the lake but can't, that is a classic sign of lead toxicity. So please give those numbers a call if you think a swan needs help. So what we're going to do now is our sample has turned brown in this vial, so we're going to go ahead and turn on our lead machine. If it turns on for us, there we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place a testing strip into the machine. We're sliding it into the machine, and then it wants us to place the blood sample onto the little X there, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, and now we've got 178 seconds left until we get that result, and then we'll know what his blood lead level is at. So now it's time to look at our results, and unfortunately they still are reading high. So you can see on here the lead level is high. So basically on this machine it is calibrated for 65, and so if it's any higher than 65, it does not give us a numerical value, it just says high. When the swan came in 3 days ago, he was in fact high, and he's still high, so there's a chance that he actually is improving. It's just above that 65 numerical value. So because he's doing so well, he has gained weight, he's starting to eat on his own, we are going to continue treatments and then test him in another 3 days. So the patient we have here now is called a fairy thrush. He came in yesterday because he unfortunately collided with a window and is presenting with some head trauma. So we're rechecking today to see if his head trauma signs have improved. All right, So the signs that we're looking for are, we look to see if when we shine light into their eyes, if their pupils are symmetrical, if they're responding to light. That's called a pupillary light reflex test, and he's doing much better than he was yesterday. His pupils are now symmetrical, he's responding, and his wings feel good. His legs are still a little bit sluggish. That does happen sometimes when they smack into the window and they do have a little bit of spinal trauma, but he is giving us reflexes. He was grabbing onto our fingers, so that gives us hope that he is starting to improve with those medications. So this next patient is a red-breasted sapsucker, and he's the exact same scenario as the very thrush. He did hit a window and he is experiencing some head trauma as well. So we're going to take a look. He's gripping with his other leg too. Okay. All right, so the sapsucker is a little bit different than the very thrush. As you could see, when we were doing his exam, he was kind of closing his eyes, and so that tells us that he still does have a bit of a headache. He doesn't want light going into his eyes, and so we know that he is still experiencing a little bit of discomfort. So we're going to keep him on some medications to take away that pain and make sure that the inflammation that he's experiencing in his cranial region is going to suppress, and hopefully in the next couple days he will be bright-eyed, and then we'll be able to test that pupillary light reflex. We don't like spreading their eyes and shining lights in. If they tell us that hurts, we don't want you to do that. We're very respectful of our patients.
So earlier in the show we met Rainbow, the humane education possum. Well, now I'd like to introduce you to Eleanor, our humane education raccoon, and her best friend and handler Abby, who is one of our wildlife care techs here at the Wildlife Center. So Abby, tell us a little bit about Rainbow's story. I find it just to be tragic. Why Rainbow?
Ellie.
I'm sorry, Ellie. I'm sorry, Ellie. You're not Rainbow. You're Ellie. I find her story to just be really tragic.
Yes.
She is the reason wild animals need to be wild. So tell us a little bit about how you got her and her history.
So when Ellie came to us, we got a call about from the Humane Society actually, saying that someone had just dropped a raccoon off there, and they said it was injured, and they kind of just took off. So we showed up to the Humane Society, and we found a seemingly healthy raccoon who was just habituated to humans. When she came into us, she had, it was very obvious that she had some cataracts going on. She had very poor coat quality. Oh, we're going down on the ground. But all of those, she was very, very friendly. So we came to the conclusion that she was definitely kept by humans, illegally kept as a pet, and that she was going to have to stay under our care because she had absolutely no idea how to be a wild raccoon or have any of those natural
Behaviors,
really, yeah. So we applied for a permit just like with Rainbow. So she is definitely not a pet, same as Rainbow. She stays with us here. She'll be used for education purposes. And she's very much so handler trained. She has got me and she's got Alicia and we're playing in the snow a little wild right now.
So what I see with her, the difference between her and Rainbow, Rainbow really seems to be comfortable with the fact that he is a little handy-capable, domesticated almost to as much as a wild animal can be.
Yes.
Ellie seems like she kind of struggles, like she really wants to be a wild animal, but human involvement in her life early have caused the sight impairments and some of her behavior problems. And so she wants to be wild, but she can never truly be wild, which I find so sad.
Yeah, absolutely. She definitely tries to, you know, play out those normal behaviors. She's very bad at climbing, stuff like that, which is a natural behavior that she would have learned from other raccoons. She doesn't enjoy like interaction with as many different people like Rainbow does. She likes her handlers, and she would love to be a normal wild raccoon, but because of the human interaction early on in life, she cannot.
She can't, so she cannot survive in the wild. Oh, she's going to eat the microphone cord. So it's just so important, folks, to recognize that wild animals are wild animals. Wildlife needs to stay wild. If you see an animal in need, while it may be cute and you may think it would be fun to take it home and hang out with it in your living room, one, it's illegal. Two, it really is detrimental to wildlife. So if you see an animal in need, contact the folks here at the Wildlife Center for assistance, 966-8845. And then luckily we are able to get permits for a couple of these animals that we can then use to talk to the community, to talk to folks young and old about how important native wildlife is, how we need to respect it, how we need to care for it, and how we need to protect it. Abby, thanks so much. Eleanor, you're a kooky girl. Good job. What a fantastic show. I have a big girly crush on Rainbow. I love him, and Eleanor is a beauty as well. I want to thank Alicia and Abby and the great volunteers here for opening up the Wildlife Center and letting us come in and film these beautiful, majestic animals. I want to thank Russ, our longtime producer. I want to thank the folks at Comcast and Bellingham's Channel 10 for airing PetWatch. Really want to thank the community for supporting the Whatcom Humane Society and our programs, including the Wildlife Center here. For information on how you can humanely coexist with native wildlife in our community and how you can support our programs, visit whatcomhumane.org. Until next time, we'll see you here, right here on PetWatch.